Whether you're going on your first cruise or maybe you haven't cruised in a while, not knowing these things before boarding can result in wasting money and missing out on some of the best that you can do on a cruise, from activities to included food to even the things that you'll want to do in port. Hi there, I'm Ilana from the website lifewellcruise.com. Welcome back to my channel. Now in this video, I'm going to share with you 15 things that even avid cruisers or cruise lines don't necessarily talk about that you really want to know before your cruise. Now, honestly, I don't think there's any sinister purpose to this, but there are things that might seem obvious to people who've cruised before, but may be much lesser known if you are new to cruising. Now, before I get started, I did want to mention that if you like this video, if you find it helpful, informative, or enjoyable in any way, then please do give this video a big thumbs up. I really do appreciate it, and please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Let's get started. Number one, a balcony may not always be worth it. Now, personally, I love a balcony, but what I am talking about is there are some cruise itineraries where you may not get a lot of use out of a balcony. Now, you know yourself, and you know if you're claustrophobic and you don't want to be in a windowless cabin, then you may really appreciate having a balcony, or maybe you don't want just a window. But I will give you some examples of when you may not want to book a balcony. And this is really based on what some cruisers have let me know as well. So if you are on a port intensive itinerary, so for instance, if you're on a Mediterranean cruise and it is 10 nights and you have 7 ports, you're really not going to be using your balcony that much. And in that case, depending on what the cost difference is between an interior cabin and an ocean view cabin and a balcony cabin, it may not be worth the money. You may be better off using that money towards excursions. Now, the other time it may not be worth it is if you're on a cruise that may have really cold or wet or rainy weather. If you don't think you're going to be out on that balcony that much, you may be better off opting for an ocean view. Now, I know not everybody is going to agree with that one, but I do still stand by it. But I would like to hear your own thoughts down in the comments below. Number 2, bring cold medicine or cough medicine. Now, I don't think it's something that we like to think about before a cruise, but this absolutely should be on your packing list. I recently spoke with a friend that had been on a cruise, and she was an experienced cruiser, by the way, and she told me, oh my goodness, I got a cold on day 5 of the cruise, and I looked around and I knew other people had colds as well. And it is something that just happens, by the way, whether you're on a cruise or an airplane, a land-based vacation, but it can happen. You can get a cold, and you know what? It can make you feel pretty miserable if this happens on a cruise, so make sure that this is on your packing list. Number 3, birth certificate or passport. Now, I have heard from so many people who've said things have gone wrong when it came to boarding a cruise with a birth certificate. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't do this if you are allowed to do it, but you really want to make sure that you are following the policies, the procedures, exactly the documentation that you need. So for instance, when it comes to boarding a cruise with a birth certificate, firstly, if I'm not mistaken, that birth certificate does need to be a state issued birth certificate. So make sure that you do have the correct one. And at the same time, a mistake that many people have made is, unfortunately, they've thought that the cruise that they were going on is a closed loop cruise, and therefore they didn't need a birth certificate. But sometimes some of the cruise ports of call that you may be visiting during your cruise may actually require passports, and that can result in being denied boarding. So make sure that you do check with your cruise line, and in the end, check for yourself, because ultimately it is the cruise traveler's responsibility. Number 4, tender port. So if you have a tender port on your itinerary, and you can check your itinerary to see if this is a case, but you'll want to make sure that you allow extra time to get off the ship when you do get to that island, and as well extra time to get back on the ship, because you are going to need to take that tender. Now, something that people don't often talk about is the fact that to get on that tender, you may not have priority. Now, what do I mean? If you've booked a shore excursion with a cruise line, typically those are the people that are allowed to disembark the most quickly from the ship. And there are other cases as well, including loyalty levels and if you're booked in certain cabins. But this is something to watch for, especially if you are booked with a private excursion or if you plan to explore on your own. Now, by the way, if you're getting ready for a cruise and you're trying to keep organized, I do have the LifeWell Cruise Ultimate Cruise Planner. Now, the LifeWell Cruise Ultimate Cruise Planner is a 47-page downloadable printable cruise planner that will help you to stay organized with packing lists, shore excursion planning forms, cruise budget planning forms, cruise outfit planning forms, and more. If you are interested in seeing what's included in the LifeWell Cruise Ultimate Cruise Planner, I will leave all of the information linked down below in the description of this video in case you do want to check it out. Number 5, be ready for the ship movement. Now, I really do think that people that are frequent cruisers forget that the ship does move just a little bit. We were recently on a cruise, and some of the people that we were with were first-time cruisers, and they told us, they said, oh gosh, the ship movement is pretty bad, isn't it? Honestly, we didn't even feel it. It hardly felt like it was moving at all to us. But what I realized was there was a little bit of a ship vibration, let's say, or even maybe a touch of a sway, really not very much. But if it's your first cruise especially, bring some over-the-counter seasickness medication or maybe a C-band and just be prepared for that movement just in case. Number 6, know what is going to be closed on the cruise ship when you're in a cruise port of call. Now, I like to stay on the cruise ship sometimes when we're in a port, but something that you should know is the casino is going to be closed. All of the shops are going to be closed. They're not allowed to stay open, and some of the bars as well. Dress codes. Now, cruise lines these days are much less formal than they were in the past, but you still want to know about dress codes. Now, some cruisers did share that on their first cruise, they didn't know that in the main dining room on the particular cruise line that they were on, that they were not allowed to wear shorts in the main dining room. And so they ate in the buffet the entire cruise. So make sure that you do bring at least one pair of pants. Beyond that, check if there is a formal night or a chic night and dress up if that's something that you want to do, and check for any theme nights. So on some cruise lines, you're going to have a red night. So for instance, on Virgin, you have Scarlet Night, you have white nights on other cruise lines, you have the orange party on other cruise lines, and other themes as well. Number 8, the main dining room is not just for dinner. Now, don't miss out on any of that included food. The main dining room might be open on embarkation day for lunch, so do check that out. Beyond that, the main dining room is often open for breakfast, for lunch, sometimes for brunch, sometimes for afternoon tea, so do check that. And as some people said, they didn't even realize that the main dining room was included. So yes, beyond the buffet, you have the main dining room that is included on a cruise, and you may have other casual restaurants that are also included. So make sure that you check that. Now, when it comes to room service, you also want to make sure that you don't miss out. Many cruise lines will have complimentary or free continental room service breakfast, even if the rest of the time room service is an extra charge. Number 9, your cruise ship cabin attendant can be your best friend. Now, what I mean is you can ask your cabin attendant for a lot of things. Do you need a piece of furniture removed from the cabin, like a sofa table? Do you need an extra chair for the balcony? They can often accommodate that. Do you need something to make your bed more comfortable, like a mattress topper? Just ask. Or maybe you need extra hangers or even the ice bucket filled. Number 10, print out your luggage tags. Now, this is something a lot of first-time cruisers say that they just didn't realize they had to do. Now, I do have an extra tip. Beyond printing out your luggage tags, it is a good idea to buy reusable plastic luggage tag covers. Now, they are very inexpensive. They are reusable. I will leave links down below in the description of this video in case you are looking for your specific cruise line, but this is something that I suggest we do it on every cruise. Number 11, know how the AC works in the cabin. Now, you'd think that this would be obvious, but some people have said that they were ready to practically disembark the cruise ship on embarkation day because they were so hot in their cabin. And this is what happened. So if you're in a balcony cabin in particular, for the AC to work, you have to close that balcony door and usually kind of just lock it or turn that latch towards the bottom. Now, the other thing that you'll want to do is many cruise cabins are going to have a little slot that you can put your cruise card in. It's right next to the doorway, and that is what's going to turn on all of your electricity, including your AC. Now, just a little tip, instead of putting your cruise card there, just bring a hotel key card or something like that, and you can place that there instead. Number 12, know how to use the cruise ship intranet and the cruise ship app. So firstly, make sure that you do download your app before sailing on your cruise ship. It's going to be much harder and much more cumbersome if you do that once on the cruise ship. Trust me, I forgot on my last cruise. But beyond that, if you are buying the cruise ship Wi-Fi or not, you do want to make sure that you put your phone in airplane mode before you sail away. Now, if you bought the cruise ship intranet, don't worry. Once you're on the ship, there will be directions as to how to log into the cruise ship intranet while you're on airplane mode. And by the way, for those wondering, how do I use the cruise ship app if I don't buy the cruise ship Wi-Fi? You can use it. This runs on intranet, if I'm not mistaken, and basically it is sort of like an internal intranet system for just on the cruise ship. Your app is going to work, so don't worry about that. And oftentimes there's a messaging service that is part of the app that you can use as well. Number 13. Now, I don't know if I should say this one. It's a little bit controversial and it is anecdotal, but many people have said that on embarkation day, that the cruise line or at the cruise terminal, they're not necessarily checking what time your boarding time is. Now, this again is anecdotal and it may depend on the cruise line. So I would like to hear from you. Please let me know if you've cruised before. Have you noticed lately if at the cruise terminal they are checking for the embarkation time? Please do let me know down in the comments below. But beyond that, on embarkation day, something that you'll want to make sure that you do is you do pack an embarkation day bag, because you are going to want to have that for the day that you board your cruise. And I know this is covered in many of my other videos, but always arrive the day before your cruise. Number 14, make reservations as soon as possible. So anything that you can reserve online before your cruise, go ahead and do that. So maybe that is for some specialty restaurants that you really want to go to. Maybe you want to make spa appointments. Maybe you want to book shore excursions. And in some cases, if you're on some of those really big mega cruise ships, you'll want to book your entertainment and your shows before you cruise. That is something really important. Now, if you don't get the times that you want or you can't get a space, don't worry. What you'll want to do is on the very first day of your cruise, like make sure you get on board quickly, and you do this right away. You'll want to head over to the box office or guest services and see what reservations may still be available. Number 15, refare, refare, refare. Now, oftentimes I'm told that this is the very best tip, because honestly, cruise lines are never going to let you know this. But up until your final payment, most of the time, the cruise line is going to honor that lower price. So keep an eye on your cruise fare. And if the price does go down, contact your travel agent or the cruise line to see what kind of solutions they have. And even after the final payment, see if there's a way maybe to upgrade your cabin. It's always worth checking. But beyond the price of your cruise, check as well any packages that you may have purchased. If that goes on sale later on, see if you can have that refared as well. What some people do is they cancel their previous reservation and they make a new one at that cheaper price. Do check with a cruise line before you do it. You do want to make sure it's to your advantage, but these are great ways that many cruisers do save money. Now, if you're wondering more about boarding day, I am going to leave a video right after this one that is going to take you through A to Z what you can expect on the day that you board your cruise. And I'm also going to leave all of the information for the LifeWell Cruise Ultimate Cruise Planner down below in the description of this video. I would love to hear from you. Please let me know your own tips, the things that you think that many new cruisers or even avid cruisers don't know. Please let me know down in the comments below. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please do give it a big thumbs up. I really do appreciate it. And please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Bye for now and happy cruising.